Hi everybody, it's Jules by Jude, and I want to show you how to make some beads today. Go along with some of your pendants you've been working on. So we're going to start with this little piece of cane that I have left from one of my cane making tutorials that you can watch. I have a little bit earlier this year, and what I'd like to do is show you how to make a few beads to go with some of those pendants. Now this is a piece of scrap, and I'm going to try to come close to some of my colors here that I'm going to use that are indeed from the cane. So just in case a little bit sneaks through, something like that, okay? So the kind of beads we're going to be making are rolled beads with the Sculpey Bead Roller, okay? And we have three types of sizes that I have here, 13 millimeter, 16, and 18. And these are the little measuring cups that come with it. And these are the attachments to the bead roller that I'm going to show you how to do in a few minutes. So first of all, we want to get started with our scrap, but I want to show you again. We're going to cut out show you how to cut out a piece of measured clay later after this is done, so that you can do it if you don't have a bead roller, okay? These are a few of my rods that go through the beads that go on to a baking sheet where the beads will slide onto that. Okay, so let's get started. I think I covered most things. If not, you'll see some as we go, and I'll explain. So first we're going to do is we're going to make a 13 millimeter bead, and we push this together. We push our clay. This is my scrap clay I'm using, and I'm pushing that deep down in there. I'm not really worried about it getting stuck. I'll just scrape it all the way out. And of course you want to be careful, but you want to make it precise. If you want to make the same beads, that will make your 13 millimeter bead. Now you pry it out. There we go. Just like that. Okay. Now you want to make sure you get it all out, and make sure you get all the clay out. You can use some water if you like. Now I am going to give it a little bit of a start here with my hands, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to look on here for 13 millimeter, and put that one on there, 13, and put that on here, and I'm going to put my clay right in the center here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close these two together. They don't go together, they don't click, and you just move back and forth. Okay, and as you're moving back and forth, the bead, it doesn't probably even take as long as I just showed you. Okay, now let's make a different size so that we have a variety of sizes here. It just comes right out. And we'll put the 13 over there. What do we got there? This is the 16 mil, and let's see here. Here's the other 16. Okay, just put one on there, one on there. Let's see here. This was the 13 mil. We're going to get the 16. Sorry. So I'm going to take another piece of my scrap clay, and I'm going to fill my measuring cup up with the scrap clay. And this is the 16 mil. I don't know if I said 16 or 18, guys. Okay, now you want to be careful, but you want to put your fingers right underneath of that measuring cup so that you don't cut yourself. There we go. And careful, blade down. Careful with the blade. Okay. Now we have our little measuring cup full. It's just 16 mil, as you can see here. And I'm going to just pull that on out. Sometimes it comes all out at once. Sometimes you just have to pry the rest of it out. And like I said, this is a little bit of a mix for me from my scrap clay that I had been fooling around with the different canes that I was messing with. So I ended up with some scrap, which is really not scrap to me. It's just another mixture of clay, color-wise. It's not really a scrap. Nothing really goes to waste. You just need to cover it up so you don't get any dust and dirt on it. Keep it a little moist if you can. There you go. That's a 16 mil. Hopefully I have these in proper. Okay, now we're going to 18. Like I said, look, just take it out. Comes right out, easy as could be. And now put your 18 in there. The ones that I have only come in 18, 16, and 13. I'll have to check and see if indeed Sculpey has another size bead roller. And that's how I would refer it to it. I believe I bought it online. Like I said, it's Sculpey. It wasn't expensive at all. I wish I could remember what the price was, but I don't. I think you might be able to get these at Publix. Look at me thinking of food, hey. Michael's. I don't think you can get it at Hobby Lobby. Yeah, I think you can get it. You might be able to get it at Hobby Lobby. I know you can get it at Michael's. I'm almost positive. I don't think you can get it at Joann's. That's the one. But Joann's it depends on which one you go to. If you go to the small Joann's, again, you have your scrap clay measured for 18 millimeter with your two ends together, okay? And you're going to just push on top and roll back and forth. Push back and forth. Inside, the little bead is going up and down the canal of it, and you'll come out. And look at that. I hope you can see how round that is. Okay, so now I have 3 pieces. And generally what we do at this point is we roll out some of our canes. So I'm going to take a piece of my cane. It's very tiny, I know. And I'm going to slice a piece and show you what I did here. Hopefully these, usually I cover them. If they don't cover, oops, wrong way. Here we go, because we want to go in size. All right, this is the cane, a little piece there, stretched out, ready to cover that bead with a type of a veneer. It doesn't have to be perfect because you know how beads are. They are what they are. All right, there we go. Now, what I'm going to do here is, now I better move this just in case. I want to make sure you see how tiny of a piece that we're putting down here. All right, give me a second, guys. I'll get you back together here. Okay, it's hard doing it backwards. There you go. That's perfect. Now I'm going to put this on. What do I have? Number 2. I'd rather start with a number 4 and then go to a 3, somewhere along that group. I want to show you what I do. Is roll this through my machine, and it comes out looking just like you see one of these. And that is the exact same cane. Excuse me. So, really what I'm probably going to be doing with this is just making it so that it is matching the colors of some of my pendants and as I bead. So I will have to create you a little necklace to put it all together so you can see how it all looks together. But let's do this individually. You might be working on something separate from what I have been working on color wise and size. So really what I do here is show you how you can make beads pretty darn perfect, if you might go that route, with a bead roller from Sculpey. Okay, so what we have here, let me see, where's my small one? This is my small bead right here, okay? And this, I have not baked it. Okay, so you want to do is try to get that to go around it. See how it does not? So what I will do is I will put it through the roller again and make it smaller. Well, I'm sorry, not smaller, thinner. Pardon me, thinner. You see that? That's thinner. So I'm going to wrap my bead just like that. Okay. And I'm going to cut that black off because I really don't want that solid black, see that, on there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my ends around like this, just like that, just to move it in a little bit. You see that? Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is take my blade. Let's start with this. I'll cut this off right here. And I expose a little bit of the bead, but not much. Keep in mind now, this has not been baked. Okay, it has no hole and it's not been baked. We're just being very careful. We got a good size from our bead roller. And what we might do is put it back in there to make sure it's, see that now? That's the benefit of having some of the same color clay underneath of there, because we can bring that together very gently to cover that hole. And there's not much exterior veneer on the bead where it would make it much more than 13 mil. And in fact, we're going to put it back in the 13 mil. Now see what I've been doing? I'm gently spreading the clay with my finger to cover the piece that had a little bit short when I cut it, just now cut it. And this one actually has a little bit more. But that is a really good bead. Now look, this is the scrap. See, it does look a little similar, but this has more of a design to it than this does. So what I really want to do is I just want to make it, I don't want to go too crazy here with rolling it again, okay? Because I don't want to distort my color again. So I'm changing my bead roller, make sure it's 13, because I don't want to, well, it can't get much smaller, true. There we go. One of the bigger beads. I'm going to place it in there, as you can see. I'm going to push this on top, and I'm going to roll like that. Okay. Now I'm going to take it out, and here you have it. Okay. Now you can roll it a little bit more. Make sure it's to your liking. You can feel it. Put it in your hand and make sure you feel that roundness. But the bead roller works perfectly. Now, for this particular bead, I have some choices here for bead rods. Okay? I'm going to put this bead down so I don't get it distorted. This is a very, very tiny bead spear rod. Push it right through, it'll go right through. However, it'd be very difficult to thread anything other than very thin beading wire through that hole. So I'm not going to do that because I don't usually use too much of the beading wire. I do use some, but not much. Okay? So I'm going to find a spot that I would really like to make. There we go. I'm going to roll that through just like this. This is a little thicker of a bead rod. Then I'm going to push through. Let's see where that comes out. There, I felt it. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is push through this way. There we go. And there we have it. Okay. So, what we're going to do now is, oh, I want to make sure that's pushed through on the right side there. There we go. We don't want any of that sticking out. Making it lopsided. There we go. At this point, you would place it on top of your bead rack. And as you can see, and you would leave it there, and you would bake according to your instructions for your clay. Also, what you'd want to do is then move on to your 16 mil and do the same as you did with your 13 mil, just like so. Video's coming out. Okay, there we go. This one's fitting perfectly, only I'd like to take off some of that black. So what I would do is then take this here and pull that off a little bit, because it's going to go together very smooth. There we go. There we go. Look at that design. I like it. I like the colors too. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to round this off like this. Okay. You know. Now if you feel like you have a little bit too much clay still left on there, you can go the next size up unless you get to the 18, and then you're going to have to compromise this. The veneer is going to have to be a lot thinner. Okay, but truly at this point you don't have to put it back in the roller, because your bead is really rolled very well for you at this point. You really just want to smush down that veneer, roll it around in your hands a little bit, as you've seen these, I'm sure, ladies do before. And once again, decide as close as the center as possible, humanly possible. And you want to twirl a little bit so that you do not push the clay in. Now, if you have some that you've pushed out, which I have in here, you want to make sure you go back through there and make sure that you push that clay back in. And if you're still having an issue, just make sure you dab your veneer back down. It shouldn't happen that way if you twist, but it did here. So I want to make sure it's nice. And it's also a little bit, you cannot see the hole so clearly with this clay because it has a black, so it's like the black hole. Okay, so at this point, I have the 18 millimeter bead. Also, I do believe I'll be able to stretch it. Yes, sir. Awesome. I'm going to cut that black off because I don't want that black. It's too black. It's okay on the ends, but not in the center. I want the center to be that, oh, I really like this one. Really, really like this one. Okay. Let me cut that there. Cut this here. Voila. And as I said, you can see there some of my purple coming through, and I'm just going to bring that clay over. And since this is the 18 mil, I'm not going to put it through the bead again, the bead roller, because if I do, it will squish it, because it does have an extra layer of the clay, which we call veneer. So I just need to roll it a little bit in my hands, just like that. Oh, I really like that bead. When you're done with your beads, you can put a gloss on them, or you can have the matte finish. We'll have to go over some glossing, glazing later on. So we're going to have the third bead as the 18 mil. So we have the 13 mil, the 16 mil, and now we will have an 18 mil. And I'm just going to twist that through. And a lot of times you can stop before you get all the way through and put it through the other way so that the clay doesn't push out or get distorted. Now sometimes it does, because the clay is so darn soft, and when you're working with Sculpey, it is soft. So at this point, what you'd like to do is stretch that out a little bit, take a look at your bead, push it down a little, roll it around, put it back on your bead stick, your bead rod. Sorry. Like I said, I make up my own language here. And voila. You now have some beads. 13, 16, 18. Now, in the case that you don't want to use a bead roller, or you don't want to buy a bead roller, or you want to do it all organic, one of my favorite words again, I'm going to flatten this out on my thickest setting in a moment here. Give me 1 second. That was a little too thin. So I'm going to go thicker. This is my scrap clay you're looking at. This is scrap clay. I know it's hard to see the difference because it's the same color, but that's also the point. You want to use some of your interior clay to be the same color in case it's exposed. Okay, I'm going to put this away. I want to show you. This is scrap clay rolled out on my thickest setting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a cutter. Now this cutter is going to be the same amount no matter how many cuts I do. Okay, so this is 1 bead, this is 2 beads, this is 3 beads. As far as size go, I would have to measure that in with a different measurement because I'm not sure if it's a 13 bead, it's going to be a 13 millimeter or a 16. I only know that these are going to be the same exact size because I cut them with the same cutter at the same thickness. And now I'm going to roll this in my palm of my hand instead of the bead roller. And we're going to come out with a couple beads, and then we're going to put a veneer on there. The veneer should be the same as well. So how you would do that is you use the same thickness and the same amount of clay for your veneer. And these beads are exactly the same. Now, what you'll just need to decide is what's quicker for you, what looks better for you, what feels better for you. Either it's going to be the bead roller or it's going to be yourself rolling your beads out and cutting them. But you can do it either way. Either way works fine. So there isn't one over the other. And I'm going to use some of this veneer that I have left to show you that it can be done perfectly fine. Just these look like 13 mil, by the way. Close. I'd have to measure them, which I don't have that measurement at this moment, but you would have to measure it. But it's still the same measurement as you did as long as you use the same cutter. So if your point is to have 6 millimeter beads or 13 millimeter beads or 10 millimeter beads, then you will have to measure that out differently. With these little cups that I have the size of the bead 18 millimeter. That's why I kind of like that. I can use that if I need to know exactly. Now, here you go. This is the exact same process we used. It is a little bigger now because it has the veneer on it. And it's put through the same exact process as these. You put them through the bead rod. You decide what size bead rod, and when you buy your bead rack, it comes with bead rods that you can use to choose from. Now what I do have to say about that is one of the bead racks that I bought had these very tiny, I don't even know if you can see this on the camera, rods versus different size rods, and which I would rather have these than just one size of these. So it kind of looks a little bit different. It is, as I said, the best thing I can think of is if you're going to use the beading wire, you're going to have to use the smaller. Now there's another option out there that is a hand a hand drill, which is this. Okay. So another option might be that you use this either now or after you've baked your clay. And this should go through it. You can also find these at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, online at eBay, Amazon, your favorite auction or buying site that has to do with crafts, because you could probably get them at Rio Grande, Fire Mountain, and other ones. Now once you're done this, they're going to look a little like this. These are hard. These are done. See that? They are very hard and durable. These particular ones are not glazed, and they were just done up for examples. They are not perfectly sanded or ready to be stranded yet. Okay? So thank you. God bless you. I have some exciting painting projects coming up on your Polymer clay. So please keep tuned and keep watching. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks again. God bless.